Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Good morning, Bix Weir, roadroad.com with your morning horn disease, your sip of chaga coffee. The war against alternatives continues. The U.S. government, run by Janet Yellen, Jerome Powell, and Gary Gensler and Rustin Binham, is actively trying to control and destroy alternatives to the U.S. dollar. Obviously, the U.S. dollar is on its way out, but there won't be that's the funny thing. There will be nothing to replace it on the unbacked fiat side. There will be replacements in silver, in gold, in cryptocurrencies. That's the choice of the people. The government will be gone. And I know a lot of people don't understand this. It's really interesting that Dick Allgaier and the crypto viewing guys viewed the death of the dollar scenario. And what Dick came up with, he saw the halls of Congress were like the people coming out, like throwing up, adjourning for the last time. I think that will happen this year, truthfully. And if the halls of Congress adjourn for the last time, there is no SEC. There is no Operation Choke Point. There is no Treasury Department. There's no Federal Reserve. There's no need for XRP, by the way. XRP is getting a little life. And I'm like, well, if you believe in the death of the dollar stuff, there's no XRP in the world because there'll be no banks. And without banks, XRP is pretty much useless. But they are continuing to hold down silver, which is a gift. Oh my God, I beg of you, go buy as much physical silver as you can get in your hands. If you have mining shares, you're screwed. They won't survive a crash. If you have SLV, you're screwed. It won't survive a crash. Who's going to take it? All the banks that are authorized participants in that game, especially Virtu Financial, the high-frequency trading company. Yes, they are an authorized participant in SLV. I pointed that out a long time ago. They were called EWT LLC at the time, run by a guy named Vinny Viola, who runs the deep state control mechanism. So that won't be around. Exchanges won't be around. Stocks, bonds won't be around. I don't know how they're going to be ushered out. It might be what Greenspan said long ago is the dollar and the deficits don't matter. Nothing matters, and because the Fed can print as much money as possible to get out of any financial coup. The question is the purchasing power of the dollar. And if the remote viewing was actually of that specific language, the purchasing power of the dollar will be zero. So the Fed can print all it wants. It will be worthless. What will be worth stuff? Things that you have in your hand. Like, obviously, silver. If you have gold, I have 1 ounce of gold because I thought it looked cool. And it's, I think it's one of the American Indian gold coins. I always think, should I swap this for 80 ounces of silver, 88 ounces of silver, or whatever you can get for it these days? Of course. If you have any gold, especially gold mining companies, good luck with that. And this is not even counting all the secret gold there is in the world, especially in the United States. Chocolate Mountain, I've gone over 1,000 times. The gold in the Grand Canyon, it's not even a secret. It's just how much is the price of gold going, how high does it have to go to get those billions and billions and billions of ounces out of the sand along the Colorado River? $2,500, $3,000. A lot of people, Jim Sinclair's talking $80,000, $90,000 for an ounce of gold because of the amount of derivatives and dollar-like instruments. So you have the U.S. dollar, you have your paper dollars, your bonds, your notes, you name it. And then you have the derivatives on top of a lot of those are derivatives. And they count as, believe it or not, a monetary instrument. Like you can buy things with derivatives these days, which is crazy. So yeah, the U.S. dollar will be, although it still be around, it's the purchasing power. We're walking into wheelbarrow for a loaf of bread territory, and no currency on the planet is going to take its place. Now, if the BRICS try to back a currency, it'll fail instantly. Why? Because people would redeem it instantly because there's no trust and faith. And then if they have a non-redeemable, it's useless. You don't even know if the other country has the goods in hand. So yeah, that would fail too. An unbacked global fiat monetary system, the lead currency, the US dollar, can't collapse and everything else go on the way it should. It's just not going to happen. Anyway, the battle for silver is over. The 50-day, 100-day moving averages. This is how the banksters are trying to get out of their short position. They're really good at it, and they're just about out. Now, the latest COT report came out yesterday. It was for last week or 2 weeks ago. And basically, the banks are doing a little bit of the same thing. Every time it bumps above the moving averages, they'll short. But not very much, hardly at all, actually, especially the top 8 and the top 4. These are the big banks. They're getting out. They're getting out of a 30-year-long, 40-year-long manipulation. And they are almost out of it. So, yes, I do see silver blowing over these moving averages and then nobody to sell. So it'll blow by $30. There won't be any defense of $30. There won't be any defense of $50. It will just go. And then who's left holding the bag? Whichever crazy hedge fund is taking a short on silver. So that's where I think we are. Real interesting. I saw this graph. The average annual gasoline price by president. Republicans are lower, but the Democrats, Biden's the highest. Trump is the lowest on average. And that's why. That's because he rigged it more than Barack rigged it, or Joe is rigging it. I don't think Joe has the capability of rigging it because the good guys are in charge. And George W. Bush obviously was rigging back in the day. These are not really real fair market values of gasoline. These are rigged prices of gasoline. There is no commodity traded on the planet in the last 40, 50 years since derivatives were introduced as the way to value them. There is no commodity that we know its fair market value. Everything is relative to computer manipulation. Where do they want it to go? That's where they click a mouse and make it go. Like Bush Jr., look at him. It's almost like you can see right here, you can see the manipulation working. And this was probably set as soon as he got into office. Okay, we're going to do $1.60, $1.90, $2.30, $2.62. We're going to get up to there. And then they tell all their friends and they all put their futures on so that they know they have guaranteed income for the next 2 or 3 years. That's how crazy this shit is. And then Barack Obama, I think the good guys started to attack oil. And then Trump basically said, okay, I'm going to hold it steady as I can, which is 100%. I mean, can Donald Trump throw billions of barrels of derivative oil at the market? Absolutely. Can Joe Biden, though? I don't know. I don't think he can unless the good guys want him to. I do think the good guys are in charge of the manipulation. And if you don't believe all this stuff, you think it's all crazy, then look up Operation Choke Point. We're in Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point 1.0 happened 10 years ago, and it was going after all like pot banks that cater to like pot companies or things on the fringe. Banks that deal with things on the fringe. The choke point was cut off their banks. If the government doesn't want someone doing something with a bank, you cut them out of that system. And that's what happened. And then the regulators came in, especially with pot, and all of a sudden the banks opened up more a little bit, and they supposedly stopped Operation Choke Point. Operation Choke Point 2.0 is all about the cryptos. That's why they took down Silicon Valley Bank. That's why they took down all the banks that have gone down are all crypto banks. Silvergate, Signature Bank. While the existence of Operation Choke Point 2.0 has not been confirmed, Mick Mulvaney spoke of rumors of its existence and the potential side effects of such a policy. If the United States government really is implementing Operation Choke Point 2.0, it will hurt financial stability and have contributed to the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, according to Donald Trump's former White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney. I don't want to think that the government would actually do that, Mulvaney said in a March 22 Bloomberg interview in reference to the rumored operation. He did, however, recall attending hearings on the original Operation Choke Point, a government initiative aim to limit certain industries' access to banking services. You have to wonder if there's not certain policies that the administration is putting in place that have perhaps the intended, perhaps unintended consequences of raising risk and increasing instability. And we did see that at SVB, he added. Of course, it's who's doing it? Obvious. Gary Gensler, the Darth Vader. He even looks different these days. The Darth Vader of cryptos. SEC Gensler suggests, again, that proof-of-stake tokens are securities. Gary Gensler will be out of a job when the U.S. dollar fails because it takes Congress being in place. It takes faith in your government. Gary Gensler is the same guy who ran the CFTC during the silver manipulation from 2008 to 2016. The same guy that Bart Chilton said made the decision, a political decision, not to stop JP Morgan from rigging the markets. It was a political decision. This is one of the commissioners of the CFTC said a political decision was made. You don't think Gary Gensler's been telling the bank, okay, we're going to take out that bank, take out that bank, take out that bank, and raise the crypto FUD all over the world. As a matter of fact, the White House just came out with a report. It's all crypto FUD. Crypto FUD. Industry outraged as White House report slams cryptos. The report included 35 pages seemingly aimed at debunking the merits of crypto assets. I haven't read it, but it is mostly ridiculous. It's the same bullshit you hear from guys who are just gold bugs. Oh, you can make cryptos out of thin air. Sure you can. It doesn't give them value. You can make anything out of thin air. It doesn't give them value. Can you make gold out of thin air? Not yet. Not yet. Can you make a hell of a lot more gold? Absolutely. You can find, I'll tell you where it is. It's in the banks of the Colorado River. And it's not just in the sand. I mean, when I had the debate against Steve St. Angelo, all I needed was, the information that everybody knew there was massive amounts of gold in the sand in the early 1900s, and there were articles about it. And that's why they set the gold price at $20.67, because that was too low a price to get the gold out of the sand. But what I left out, because it's more conspiratorial, I stayed off the conspiracy side, because that's not a conspiracy. The more conspiratorial is that they have found the mother lode, as they call it. So if you have placer gold, which is gold like in mixed in the sand, like you've seen those mining television shows of them pulling out of gold out of the sand in Alaska, that all came from a mother lode. A mother lode is the original deposit of gold. Now, where that deposit came from, did it come from the earth? Did it come at the creation of the planet? Was it created inside the earth? Was it a mass coronal ejection out of the sun? Because the sun has 2 trillion tons of gold in it. And every once in a while, it'll spit out a coronal mass ejection, and those mass ejections have material in them. Where they land, who knows? Could the sun have blasted the earth at some point in our billions of years of history, and that deposit hit the planet and it was full of gold right at the Grand Canyon? Of course it could. Most likely it did, if you ask me. The Grand Canyon was created not by the Colorado River, but by an energy transfer between Mars, the Earth, and the sun. And it was like a lightning bolt in space. There is a Grand Canyon called Valles Marineris on Mars that is exactly like the Grand Canyon except larger. And many people are starting to figure out the scientists lied to us. It wasn't created by the Grand Canyon, and they're doing scientific experiments on lightning actually creating that crack, and it would turn out exactly the way it is. Because if you take the crack and you push them together, they all fit together. That doesn't make sense if it was the Grand Canyon swirling around and doing that over billions of years. And by the way, the rock cliffs are sheer for a mile deep. No, of course the river didn't do that. It's just silly. It's like we can't make pyramids today. How'd they make them back in the day with those massive, gigantic rocks moving them hundreds of miles? It's so stupid. But we've been taught to not think, taught to say, yes, Mr. Teacher. Yes, Mr. Teacher, I believe you. We're monkeys. Yes, Mr. Teacher. We came from monkeys. The missing link is a textbook on what really happened. It's just crazy to think about this stuff. And of course, there were giants on the planet. It says it in the Bible. A lot of Christians will tell you there were. It says it in the Bible. Except we found massive amounts of evidence with skeletons all over the United States. They were finding them in the late 1800s. They were finding them everywhere in the Smithsonian and hidden away. Hid them away. What does that mean? It means we're being lied to constantly and forever. And we got to break out of that. That's what we're doing. We're going to lose trust in our controllers and our leaders. That's how silver breaks free finally. And I think that's coming. Get your physical in your own possession. Get your crypto in your own possession. Theta is at $1. I remember screaming at people, oh my God, it's at 4 cents. Buy, buy, buy. Nothing has changed. It's at $1. Buy, buy, buy. Theta is the future of, if you like videos, it's the future of streaming. It solves the last mile problem. What's the last mile problem? You get to a city, you have these gigantic hubs that have to put out these videos to every single place in that city. That's the last mile problem. With Theta, it's great. You share your internet so that your neighbor next door, unbeknownst to him, is sharing broadband with you. It's helping the whole situation. It's a lot cheaper than setting up this massive facility in the middle of a city and shooting out videos to every single person out there. And there's a million other things that Theta can do and will do. I still believe, yes, it's going to over $1,000 and it's at $1. Now, mind you, cryptos are the future. Silver is the present. Everybody I've told, buy as much silver as possible. I'm not saying keep it forever. I'm saying when the silver gold ratio goes under 10 or goes to 1, swap that silver for something else that's cheaply valued, which is Theta right now, and Theta Fuel. T-Drop, I don't know. Who knows? That doesn't really trade much. It's just there when Theta and T-Fuel get so big, T-Drop is going to just ride the wave type of thing. That's my take anyway. Anyway, I'm talking to Jenny Moonstone later today. Yeah, go check out the private road. I'll put a private, I'm talking to her tomorrow, sorry. And I'm putting up a private road post again today. So this is Bix Weir. Go to roadtoruta.com and join in the fun. Talk to you later.